another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is new Michael, Kevin Jank.
I'm here, but I've changed my name to Mr. E. Get it? It's a clever pun.
No, not as clever as Ms. Tree. Also joining us tonight, it's a very special guest. It's our old buddy Bob Myers. Bob.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for stopping by, Bob. Now, we always love when you usually fill in for Jank when he's not here.
I do what I can.
Yeah. And what was the last time you were here, Bobby? You and I, New Mutants, right? We did the New Mutants special. That was long. You put in your work there, huh?
That was a long one.
Jank bailed when he saw it was like 64 pages. He's like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But, yeah, thanks for coming in. Because this week, Bob, we're doing Ms. Tree, issue 21 from 1985. And Jank had said he'd like to read a Ms. Tree. And then you messaged me and saying, hey, I'd like to read a Ms. Tree too. So I'm like, here we go. Let's do a Ms. Tree.
Ms. Tree is having a renaissance.
Yes. I love Ms. Tree. We did an issue of her in season or year 3 of the podcast when Mike L was here. But
year 3? I feel like that was early on.
No, I'm pretty sure it was year 3 because it was in the second year of the Fleas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the first Flea was 2 years, so I'm pretty sure it was in that third year. But anyway, Ms. Tree is a private investigator. She's a lady PI. And
yeah.
Because who's the other one? Dakota North. I was a big fan of Dakota North as well.
I think Ms. Tree is like a fashion model on the side.
No. But that was like the big distinction. Yeah. When Dakota North came out, she was a fashion model as well or whatever. And like the ad was, it showed a picture of Dakota North and it said style underneath. So the Ms. Tree folks, they were already in existence at the time. And they put out an ad for Ms. Tree that had substance underneath it. So that's pretty great. But all right, before we get into this issue, let's remind everybody, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're up to 221 subscribers. We picked up like one. We picked up one. Trying to get to 500, Bob.
I believe in you. It'll happen one day.
Oh, yes, it will. Maybe. Doubtful. But we'll see what happens.
We're all excited for that Dark Knight Returns story.
Yes. Yeah. I've been listening to a lot of Batman stuff every day when I take my naps. A lot of Batman audio stuff. So I don't know. I might end up picking up Batman. But for today, it's Ms. Tree. So she is the greatest detective compared to that dopey Batman. The creators here are Max Allan Collins and Terry Beatty, and they do all the Ms. Tree stuff. And Collins drew inspiration for the character of Ms. Tree from Mike Hammer's secretary, Velda. And the basic idea was that if Velda and Mike Hammer got married and Hammer was murdered on their honeymoon.
That was a lot of pops and buzzes.
Oh, but you did hear the audio. You just did not understand what that meant. What I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not processing any of it.
Bob, you know who Mike Hammer is, right?
I do.
Yeah. He's a famous detective, Jank, written by Mickey Spillane. And he had a TV show that ran with who was the guy that did him?
I know it's Mike Hammer, no Sledgehammer.
Stacy Keach was the actor. That's right, Bob. So, I can't believe you don't know Mike Hammer there, Jank. And his secretary was Velda, and she was this very tall, bosomy, hot lady who would pack a gun sometimes. And so
I feel like they put some work on Mrs. Tree then. She kind of looks a lot like B. Arthur.
How dare you?
In the best way possible.
How dare you? Yeah, well, I will say that, Terry Beatty isn't the greatest artist at this point in his career. The longer the series goes, the better he gets. But she does look way better later in the run.
Like, as I read it, I don't get the impression he's trying to make her look attractive.
Yeah, she's not supposed to be
unattractive, but she's not supposed to be a model by any means.
Exactly. Ms. Tree's first name is Michael.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. It was very confusing. The first issue I picked up a Ms. Tree, I was very confused. I was like, who's Michael? He's talking about, her name's Michael. And her her dead husband's name was also Michael. He was murdered on their honeymoon. The assassin was connected to this Muerte crime family that we're reading about today in this issue. Like, this is all interconnected stuff. But her first appearance was in Eclipse magazine, issue 1, 1981, and it was a 6-part story that concluded in issue 6 in July of 1982. Then she started appearing in her own ongoing comic book series called Ms. Tree's Thrilling Detective Adventures. And with issue 4, that series was just shortened to Mrs. Tree. And that's what we're reading here today. Same series, yes. And 4 publishers over the years had published Ms. Tree. Eclipse was first, and then Aardvark Mannheim, or what is it, Vanheim?
Aardvark. Oh, yeah.
The ones that did Cerebus and Normal Man and all that. They published issues 10 through 15, and then issues 16 to 18 were co-published with Renegade Press, which was Dave Sims' ex-wife, who, when she split, she made Renegade Press. And then Renegade Press took over sole publishing duties for the remainder of the series that ran for 50 issues and concluded in 1989. There are also a few one-shot specials along the way. And then DC published 10 issues of Ms. Tree quarterly from 1990 to 1993. So that was pretty good. And they were like self-contained longer stories. And then there would be a backup story of some random character. And then there'd be another story. It would just be like all prose, with just a few pictures of something. But they weren't mystery stories. They were other characters and stuff. So,
were any of them Al?
No, but the first one was Batman.
Okay. That's something.
And then in 2007, a mystery novel called Deadly Beloved was published, also written by Max Allan Collins. So yeah, Ms. Tree, she was. I think she has the distinction of being the longest running detective comic ever at 50 issues. Like no other comic teaching a detective.
Well,
not counting Batman. Batman's not a detective. Yeah. He's a clown. Yeah. So did you have anything else there to say there, Jank?
Did you read the novel?
I did not. I did not know there was a novel until I did research for this episode. Although I had to have done the same research 3 years ago or whatever, but anyway. So yeah, Bob, you obviously had no experience with Ms. Tree, right, Bob?
I hadn't before that episode, a few years ago, but once I heard that episode, I was like, that sounds intriguing. So I've read the first 12 or so issues of this.
Nice.
And then I forgot about it. But then when you brought it up, I was like, oh yeah, I want to read more of that. So.
I read the first couple and then I forgot about it. And, but I love Ms. Tree. Now, Jack, you had no experience with Ms. Tree, correct?
No, obviously, I heard the episode you guys did, but I did not look into it further. There's no further scholarly research done on my end.
I will say that this is not the easiest issue to just jump into.
No. This is clearly the end of the story arc.
It is very perplexing.
Yeah, so when I popped in and saw it was part 7, I was like, well, I have to catch up. So I went back to 4 issues and read them all.
There you go, because I took my nap this evening, and then I woke up, and I said, you know what, I got a good half hour before the show. Let me go back and read those other issues real quick. And wow, things make a lot more sense after you read those other issues. It's because, wow, it's a little tricky here. But I picked this mainly for the cover.
Yeah, I wish that actually happened in this book. That was kind of false advertising.
Oddly enough, Jake, it kind of happened in the previous issue.
Yeah.
Where there's a gangland, and she had a little Uzi. Do you remember that, Bob? And she's mowing everybody down.
She just murdered everybody.
But on the cover, she has her handgun and not an Uzi. But it's almost a very similar panel in that issue. But Jank, would you like to describe the cover for us?
Sure. We got the little Renegade Press. It's not even like a corner box, so much as the little tiny logo up there in the corner. And apparently this thing cost $1.70 in the U.S., which is a very weird price.
Yeah, do you think because at this point it was Renegade Press, they were in Canada, so do you think they just set it at $2 for Canada for the?
Yeah, and they just based the U.S. price off of whatever exchange rate was? Yeah, it must be. It's the only way it makes any sense. So it's Max Collins and Terry Beatty's Ms. Tree. And there's kind of a color gradient background, kind of goes red to yellow as it goes down the page. And there we got B. Arthur just yelling, die, die, die.
She's shooting off camera there. I think she looks very fetching there. What do you think, Bob?
I'm not sure why you think B. Arthur is an insult. She's a very handsome lady.
Ms. Tree, she has like these really blunt bangs and like her hair in the back there, almost like a mullet looking thing. And then, but she's always dressed in like this dark blue or I guess it would be dark blue, not black. Like a whole, like what kind of an outfit? A long skirt and a coat and gloves. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you do your best private eyeing in.
Yeah. And she's usually carrying a handbag with the gun. A lot of times she just beats the hell out of people with her handbag because there's a gun inside it, so it's knocking them silly and stuff. But yeah, so there she is. What do you think of this cover, Bob?
I like it a lot.
Yeah, I like it too.
Great.
Yeah, and the die is in the reverse of the cover gradient. Yellow's on top, red in the last die. So that's pretty clever.
I like it.
Yeah. So, all right, we open it up here and we get a letter from the publisher, a note from the publisher, and that there's Dave Sims' ex-wife. I did not read it.
I also did not read it.
Yes.
Dave Sims, and now he's dating a 14-year-old.
Now, interesting thing about Ms. Tree is usually these were black and white, but I forget what issue they started experimenting with color. I know the previous issue we did was 13, and I think that one was black, white, and red. Yeah. This issue is black, white, and blue, and I believe the issue right before this, Bob, was black, white, and orange, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I figured maybe they changed it every story arc, like maybe all 7 parts of this would be blue or something like that, but
nope.
Sounds no.
Yeah, because I think the issue before the one in orange was just plain black and white.
Yeah, because I think I was going to say the first issue in this arc was just black and white, I believe. Yeah, I'm looking at it now. So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes they decided they had ink. Sometimes they didn't.
How do you feel about the introducing the color like this, Bob?
I'm a big fan of it. I think
so
it
am
great. I really like this blue. The orange in the last one was a bit much, but I really like the blue in this one.
The orange was a little overpowering at times. I think they were putting too much in there. But I like the blue. They do like different shades of the blue too. I don't would almost like it better if it was just one shade of blue.
Oh, see, I think the different shades really works.
Do you?
Yeah. I think
it definitely helps keeping track of who's who character wise.
I don't know. But all right, so we open it up, and this is called Ms. Tree, 1985 by Max Collins and Terry Beatty. Muerte means death, Chapter 7. And each issue has 2 chapters in it. So they divide it up that way. Hopefully you read both chapters.
I thought this was a very short comic at first. So like, I'm done. Here's the letter page. Like, they're wrapping this whole thing up. And then, nope, whole another chapter.
Yeah, usually they have a bunch of ads, and they do this little, they still have that Mike Mist guy in this one, right? I didn't even pay attention. But they have
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, these little one-shot, like one-page mystery kind of things. But anyway, so we open it up, Jank, and what do we see there?
This is pretty good. This issue gets off to a good start. We got a guy just crucified up to a cross in like a church, and turns out his name is Little Jesus.
Yeah. It's Little Jesus.
So, yeah, how else would you expect him to go out?
Yeah, basically what's going on here. Bob, would you like to explain the story arc that we're getting into the
you want me to do the whole arc, or just like what led up to this?
Maybe explain the whole arc, because
okay, so
that would help a lot.
Yeah. So obviously this Muerte is a crime boss who has had a lot of dealings with Ms. Tree. I won't go into all the details there, but basically he blew up her apartment or her office, I forget what, and caused a lot of damage, and she's been messing with him for a lot. So basically he's also the guy who was kind of behind the death of her husband too, right? Like, yes, yeah, he's been all over in a lot of her arcs. So at the beginning of this arc, one of her assistants who was hurt in that explosion decides to go and kill him.
Yeah. Now, when you say hurt,
he lost his hand and he's got a claw.
And I think he lost an eye too.
He did lose an eye as well. Yeah. And the claw is the exciting thing.
Yeah, he does have a claw. And I believe his name is Dan Green, like the inker. Mark Silvestri and Dan Green. Remember that back in the day? Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so her assistant got, maimed in this, and he's very upset with Muerte, and he wants to go get revenge on Muerte, right, Bob?
Yep. So he, without getting into too much detail, finds the guy who set up the explosion and forces him to take him to Morta's mansion. Goes in. While he's in there, he's contemplating killing Morta, but Morta's in a coma, and so he feels bad about it. And then the lights go out, and he wakes up, and Miss Tree comes in with a cop and finds that Morta's been shot, and the guy who set up the explosion was shot, and her assistant was holding the gun. But he's like, I didn't do this.
And
so
a nurse. And a nurse.
A nurse was also shot.
Yeah, because Morta, he's bedridden, and
he's got a few months to live, but this guy wanted his revenge. So then he's in jail, and Miss Tree's trying to prove that he's innocent. Meanwhile, two rival gangs are stepping up. Little Jesus' gang, and I guess, I don't remember if it was the son of the crime boss, or...
No, I think it was another guy.
It's association.
Vicente Blanco was the other guy, I think.
Blanco. Yeah, so they're fighting for power for who's going to take over. And in the previous issue, Blanco set up Miss Tree or double-crossed. It was called double-cross, but I'm not sure who the double-cross was actually on. Anyway, Little Jesus caught Miss Tree and was trying to get information out of her, and then Blanco showed up, and there was a big shootout, and Miss Tree killed them all, except for Little Jesus.
Yeah, she just mowed them all down with an Uzi. Now she gets a call that Little Jesus, they just found Little Jesus, crucified. And she's like, what the hell's going on? All right, so Jank, do things make more sense now?
Sure. I mean, it wasn't, I guess by the end of it, I understood where it was going.
Yeah, but it really does come together when you go back and read the previous issues, because they, when she comes into the house, well, we'll get to it, I guess. I'll just save it later. But they do some good stuff.
It's also the Muerte guy's got a sister in California who they keep mentioning as
Dominic. Dominic Muerte. Things get very involved because Ms. Tree and her husband, Michael Tree, he had a son from a previous marriage.
Uh-oh.
What was that movie we watched?
Yeah. Don't let the river beast get you.
Yeah, don't let the river beast. Bob, you should watch that movie immediately. Don't let the river beast get you. It's very good. He had a son from a previous marriage, and he was a lad, So when he died, Ms. Tree, she took him in, because she's now his stepmother, I guess. But anyway,
together.
When that kid gets older, though, in the future issues, he falls in love with the daughter of Dominic Muerte.
Oh no!
Yeah, so we got a Romeo and Juliet thing going on here, and so but then Ms. Tree, they ask, she tries to bury the hatchet, but Ms. Tree wants nothing to do with those Muertes. But then that Dominic Muerte is trying to say, hey, we're out of the mob business. We're actually a Fortune 500 company now. We're going straight. But then someone murders Dominic Muerte. And yeah, this Ms. Tree universe is wild, wild stuff. So.
Yeah, just in the past, 4 issues that I've read, she's killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
The cops keep getting very upset about her just vigilante killing people.
Yeah, so much so that before this issue, they took away her gun and her license and everything. She can't carry a gun until the investigation goes on. And then after the events of this issue, she gets in more trouble. And I think, Bob, I think it ends up she gets sentenced to a mental asylum. And she's forced
I don't know. I haven't read that far, but that sounds intriguing.
Yes. And they force medicate her to calm her down because she's murdering so many people.
Calm her murderous rages.
So, yeah, it's not like her actions have consequences. Let's put it that things happen because of these.
I thought she was walking away at the end of this after murdering a dude.
Nope, she does not. She has to go to trial and stuff. So, all right. So, anyway, where were we in this? Little Jesus crucified. Ms. Tree's there. And so now what happens, Jank? Where were we in this?
So she's talking to the cop, and she's like, I took out a bunch of gang guys issue.
This guy's name is Rafe as well. He's he's a recurring cop she deals with. He's kind of her friend on the police force.
Yeah. So they're kind of worried that there's more of a gang war coming. And she's like, I know, Blanco soldiers, Rafe, I killed a lot of people back in that warehouse. Probably shouldn't be admitting that to a cop, even if he's your buddy.
Well, she admits that she killed him. She says it was self-defense, I had to kill him. And it was, because it was like a Valentine's Day massacre situation. She was caught in the middle of it. So she
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that happens to get into her at the restaurant in this issue. So she gets in a lot of things.
It does. Yes, it does.
She kills. Yeah, we say she kills a lot of people, but it's mostly in self-defense. She just gets herself into a situation where she has to kill somebody. It's a bit like Death Wish.
It happens, you know?
So then they decide, I don't even know what they decide here. They start talking about the sister, like Dominic Muerte. She strikes me as a dragon lady if I ever saw one.
Yeah, they're thinking that maybe Dominic Muerte is behind all this.
Yeah.
But she's doing it, yeah.
The guy, and Rafe's like, she already has a crime family of her own, Ms. Tree, in California. She's rumored to be the high priestess of the La La Land drug trade. And Ms. Tree's like, gee, I'm shocked. Knock me down with a feather. Sass.
It's sass. And then because Ms. Tree doesn't have a gun anymore, you know, they took it away from her, theoretically. She has a lot of people working for her. And what's this guy's name? Roger, right? The bald guy?
Yeah.
To come over. So he's going to be driving her around and carrying the gun for her while they do stuff.
Not illegal if I shoot someone else's gun at people.
Yes. Technically, I don't have the gun. Roger has the gun. But yeah. So they got to go. They want to go interview the nurse who was shot during the Dan Green's attempted murder of Muerte, because she was a witness to all this. And Dan Green says, "Oh, she could tell him that I didn't shoot her." You know, even though he got knocked loopy and doesn't remember anything. So they got to go try and protect this nurse. But Bob, what happens to the nurse when she's in the hospital?
Well, surprise, surprise, even though there's a police guard watch, somebody manages to get in. He's got a signed pass he looks like a doctor, and he's got a signed pass to get in and see her, and he's up to no good.
He looks pretty shady, if you ask me.
Yeah. The first panel you see him is like, that guy's not a doctor. Come on, cop, get it together.
Yeah.
So he sneaks in with a syringe, and he's going to inject her with something, and then... Is this Rafe who walks in? I wasn't sure.
No, this is another one of Ms. Tree's associates, Mr. Han. He's like, she has operatives that go on missions with her, like Dan Green and this guy. So he's one of her guys.
So he happens to be there, and he's like, "Hey, hold on a second." And then the doctor's like, "This injection is called for, I assure you." And then he pulls a gun, and then the other guy pulls a gun and shoots the bad doctor.
Yeah, and he says, "So is that one." That injection was warranted too.
Then he gave him a hot beef injection.
So now we cut to the morgue and we see Rafe and Ms. Tree, and they're looking at the dead doctor there on a slab. And he's like, "Hey, we've run his prints, freelance hitter. He had a dozen aliases." And he says he worked out of the West Coast, which maybe means we got something where your Dominic Muerte theory is concerned. So they're still trying to piece this all together, figuring out what's going on. And she wants to go talk to the other gang guy, right? Blanco?
Yeah. So I'm trying to figure out where... Did she have the list at this point? Because at some point she got a list of all the people who worked in the house.
That was a couple issues back. I think that may have been the orange issue.
Okay, so she has a list of all the people who worked in the house. And so she's been interviewing them to find out who they work for. If they work for Jesus or Blanco. So at this point, she's... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, she also gets a call from another one of her assistants with Diane there, who they did research on this Mr. Doppler guy, who's the guy who gave her the list. And he's supposed to be like the family's lawyer, you know? And
Consigliere.
Yeah, I can never say that, so thank you. And she finds out that he just has some bogus law degree. This guy, like, not even authorized to practice law in the United States. Why'd they hire this guy? So she's confused by that as well.
They could have got Tuffy.
That's right. Tuffy would have kept Ms. Tree out of prison. He would have got her gun back real quick. But so now they go to a restaurant, the Corleone Clam House. That sounds pretty good. And there's a private party. Ms. Tree goes in alone to meet with Blanco, the other crime boss.
Yeah. And
he's all excited to talk to her because little Jesus is dead. So he's pretty happy. It's like that little Jeep.
Here's where she should have gone to the bathroom and found the toilet, the gun that was taped by the toilet.
Yeah, they're eating their spaghetti. And what happens, Jank?
I did like that he's like, oh, welcome to my fancy Italian restaurant. I ordered you the house spaghetti. It's like, oh, you couldn't even get her something a little bit better than that? Just
spaghetti's as good as it gets.
It could be really good spaghetti.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
That's
sure
what they're known for.
Apparently it's a clam house, so he couldn't even spring for the clam. It's like, you get basic spaghetti. $2 worth of noodles.
I hope they were brown rice pasta. All right. So, but when they're eating the dinner then, Jank, what happens?
Well, a gunfight breaks out. Because the waiter is apparently not really a waiter. He's got an Uzi. And he just starts mowing down all the guys and conveniently misses Ms. Tree, who was like right next to him. And
well, first the one waiter garrots him with some piano wire. And he says, "Piano wire, damn!" And she jumps out of her seat. And the guy opens up, and I don't know how she survives this, but
Well, I think he was more interested in all the thugs who had guns first, so he
I
focused on
suppose.
them, and she ducked under the table.
She doesn't have a gun anymore.
That's he read the news. His Tree can't carry a gun, but she can take the gun off a dead body, and that's exactly what she does. And she murders everybody else in the.
Yeah. Here's where she should have die. But they left that out.
Her body count is staggering. That's Ms. Tree. She walks out, and her buddies, Doug or whatever his name is, and Mr. Hand, they're like, "What the bloody hell?" She's like, "We have to return to Muerte's mansion, gentlemen. One last time. One final commando raid." And she's pulling her glove tight. It says, "To be concluded this issue." And now we get the letters page called SWAC. I like that.
It's no monkey mail. They didn't put as much thought into that.
And then we get some other ads for other stuff. I don't know. The Adventures of Wolverine McAllister. What the hell is that? See that one?
They're just ripping, like what Dave Sims did with Wolverine those covers. They're just trying to rip off Wolverine everywhere they can. Something
called Wordsmith. Huh? Then a bunch of Cerebus t-shirts and stuff. I'd love a Ms. Tree t-shirt.
Allie. I'm 1935, place New York City. Occupation Dime magazine writer. This is your dream life right there.
Alias the Wordsmith. I don't know. So, all right. Then they got more ads and things to say. Oh, there's a Nick Nostril. Celebrates his 25th anniversary. Who in the blue hell is Nick Nostril? What's going on here?
Apparently he's got a very pointy nose.
I guess is this like a Dick Tracy ripoff or something?
It definitely looks like it.
Nostrils McGee from Big Brother.
Corey. Right. Then I don't know, we get some more stuff. And then finally we're at Ms. Tree. Muerte means death. Chapter 8. The big conclusion of the story. And this is called Deja Vu. And, alright, so this part here, Jank, it's really cool if you'd read the other issues. Because Bob, do you remember when they showed Dan Green going into the house? It's like exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Like panel by panel. It's pretty much.
Which is a little disappointing because they've got all this high security and all these cameras, and they do explain it a bit. But like, she just crawls out of the backseat of a car and nobody sees her. It's like, come on, guys.
Well, that's how Dan Green got in the house. So she wants to like recreate it because she has a feeling that something's fishy about how this all went down, and she wants to test her little theory here. But yeah, like it's almost panel for panel, shot for shot of how it goes. So it's pretty cool when you see it back to back. But
like when Columbo had to go down the tree to figure out that the old lady could make that jump.
That was no just old lady. That was what's her face? Janet Leigh, right? Janet Leigh. Yeah. But anyway, man, if only there were Columbo comic books. How great
that'd be glorious.
Yeah.
Get the rights, start writing them.
So we see her. Is that guy's name Doug? I keep calling him Doug.
Doug sounds right.
Roger.
Yeah, okay.
Roger.
Same difference, really.
So Roger's driving the car, and Mr. Hand there. Is it Mr. Hand? That's South Park, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's in the passenger seat, and she's ducked down in the back seat. So they get up to the gate and they say, "Hey, Roger Fremont here from Tree Investigations. I need to talk to Mr. Doppler, the lawyer guy."
Yeah, this is weird to me in the fact that he wants to keep the fact that he's working with Ms. Tree very secret, but then like people that are clearly working for him, they announce themselves as we work for Tree Investigations.
Yeah, because they say they're going under the guise of they're asking him about another murder, right? Like not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like they're investigating a case involving the Muertes.
They're investigating the previous murder, right? And I think so. Anyway.
Yeah, but they're not working for him exactly. So, also, this Mr. Doppler guy, do you think he invented that radar?
Yes.
Seems logical to me.
Yeah, so we see them pulling in. We see a guy watching a bunch of security cameras, and he's enjoying a dart. And, so he's keeping an eye on things. And then they call this Doppler guy. This Doppler guy looks like he's bald, and he's got a beard, no mustache.
Yeah. Kind of cute, strange-ish.
Oh, there you go.
That's who it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking of that one, the very first episode of Flea Market Fantasy, Mike, Allan, and I did a Captain America where there's a guy looked similar like this, but I think his beard was different. Like, I don't think it was.
Yeah, this was kind of pointy, I think. Like the
yes.
Is that who you're thinking?
I think that's exactly who it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hugo Strange might be a better call there, Jack. So good job. And, they called Doppler and he says, "All right, send him in. I'll talk to him." And the gates open and then Ms. Tree sneaks out of the car. And again, this is like exactly repeating what Dan Green did in the previous issue. And her guy
wearing a very sensible turtleneck.
Yeah, and I think she looks
hoodie on.
I think she looks pretty hot here, Jack. I don't know what this B. Arthur nonsense he keeps spewing.
High-waisted slacks and a turtleneck. That's a good look.
Real good look. And her hair's pulled up. Yeah. Still has the big earrings on though.
Yeah. You gotta accessorize when you're gonna commit murders.
So Mr. Hand and I already forgot his name. Roger. They go in and they frisk. They get frisked, and old Hugo Strange there. He's like, "Hey, fellas, thanks for not bringing weapons. That's pretty nice of you. Why don't you come in and talk?" And while they're chatting it up, and they're asking him about, "Hey, who's going to take over now that Dominic Muerte is dead?" And he's like, "Me. I'm the next guy up. I'm going to take over." And we see Ms. Tree trying to get in. The windows are locked, so she just stabs the shit out of him with a knife. Yep. This Ms. Tree's my kind of lady. What can I say? She's great. But here's the thing she wanted to test. The guy on the security cameras, he sees her. So he alerts Doppler. Because on the night that Dan Smith broke in, he wasn't on any security cameras. And no one, so... it was a little weird. She wanted to test that. All right, so Doppler gets. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
That problem is there was a murder here committed recently, so you might theoretically up your security game after that happens.
But the guy everyone wanted dead is already dead. So it's not like someone's gonna break in.
That's why he's so casual, eating his sandwich, smoking his dart, drinking his Coca-Cola.
There's no one to protect here. All the powerful guys are dead. So, but Doppler gets the call from his guy. He says, "Intruder, counselor, it's Ms. Tree." Mm-hmm. And he says, "All right." And she's already taken out 2 of our men, sir. And he says, "All right, send someone here to watch her flunkies. I'll take care of this myself." And he goes upstairs and he goes in a room and boom, there's Ms. Tree waiting on him. And, what does she tell him, Jack?
Oh, so yeah, she gets the drop on him there in the bedroom and she's like, "This is where it happened, counselor, where you lured Dan Green, where you killed Dominic Muerte and Demolition Dave, and almost killed that nurse." There's a lot of almost murders in the room. Mm-hmm. By the way, drop that gun or I'll shoot you between the eyes. She shouldn't have a gun right now. I don't know. This is very illegal.
Yeah, she definitely does not have a license right now.
No. How would I do any of that, Miss Tree? For the same reason you used me to flush little Jesus and Vincento Blanco out of the woodwork and into your gun sights to clear the path for you to take over. And basically, she kind of lays out that, this was all your plan. You're trying to take over. And also, I know that you're actually Muerta.
Well, she doesn't know that at this point. Yeah, she still thinks it's the lawyer who's just trying to take things over and he orchestrated everything, that he wanted to get Muerte out of the way, and he wanted to get these other crime bosses out of the way. So he's the one pulling the strings. And she gets into how the surveillance cameras weren't running when Dan Green got in. So someone must have been orchestrating all that. And we get a recap of how things went down and from her perspective. And then what happens, Bob? What's the big dramatic conclusion?
He tries to take her gun, and she claws at his face, which is a callback because she'd mentioned earlier, I think even in this comic, that she likes to get people with her claws.
Yeah.
Because they'd mentioned her associate had the claws. And so she scratches his face and then hits him with the gun. And then he looks up and somehow just turns into Dominic Muerte. It's not exactly clear.
He lost his one.
He had a mask, but like the two panels, it's like one guy and then the other guy, and it's completely different looking.
Yeah, he didn't have a mask or anything, but she pulled out his one contact lens. He was looking for his contact lens, so his eye color changed. And then when he looked up, she's like, "Wait a minute, you do look familiar." And then she envisions him because
that's right, yeah.
Muerte didn't have the shaved head or the beard, so he's like, "Wait," like just the way he looked up at her without the contact in because his eye color is different. She's like, "Wait, you're dumb. You faked your death, you son of a bitch. You didn't die." And Muerte's like, "Yep. That was my cousin who really died. The guy dying in the bed. He was my elderly cousin, and I paid off all the doctors and everything. So I held up, made it seem like I died. Because how else can I escape all my legal trouble and all the problems I was having with those other gangs? By me faking my death, we get all those other gang leaders out in the open. I use you to take them down, and I get it off scot-free." He's like, "Don't you see, maybe you'll get out of here alive, Miss Tree, but can't you see I'm a pretty tough man to kill?" And what does she do, Bob?
She shoots him right between the eyes.
That's right. Miss Tree doesn't tick her.
Yeah, this comic ended abruptly.
It did end abruptly.
I love the ending. I thought it was great. Because he says, "You see, Miss Tree, I'm not an easy man to kill." She just says, "Really?" And the next panel, we're back in the office with the guy watching Roger and Hand, and we just hear a kablam. And then we see Mr. Hand knock out the guard there. And then Miss Tree comes in the room. She says, "Doppler's in there, only he's not Doppler, it's Muerte, the real Muerte." And then the next panel, we see Muerte looking at us with a hole in his forehead. And he's like upside down, staring at the camera. And he's like, "And I think it's safe to say the bastard is really dead this time." The end. So, yeah, she just shot him right in the head.
And it does not pay off when she winds up in the nut house next issue. But.
Well, not next issue. That's a couple issues down the line. Because I think the next issue, we get into like abortion and stuff, and this guy she knows, his wife. It's a very long story, but a guy who used to work for her husband is one of his operatives. She hasn't seen him in years, and he's really upset at an abortion clinic because his wife had a secret abortion, and he was very upset about it, and she ended up killing herself because of all it. So now he's blaming all abortion people. So he wants to blow up this abortion clinic, and Miss Tree tries to stop him. And then, I don't know, other stuff happens from there.
Wow. That sounds like a way more exciting issue.
This was a great issue. I mean, it helped that I'd read the whole arc leading into it.
I will say this. Without reading the other previous issues, I was a little confused, lukewarm on the issue. But when I went back and read the other issues, this all makes perfect sense. This all makes perfect sense.
Well, it wasn't that it didn't make sense. It was just like, I seem to remember the last time you did Mystery, there was like gangbangs involved and all kinds
There was. One had a gang war.
Yeah, it's not nearly as fun.
There was there was a lady. There was someone going around murdering all the people who were involved, who took part in this one gangbang, you know?
Yeah.
And Ms. Tree tracked down the lady who was gangbanged. And she's like, hey, she thinks she might be the one doing it. She's like, kidding? No, it was fun. I loved it. I wasn't me doing it. I had a grand old time. She's like, oh.
Holy crud, an orgy.
Yes, that's right. Holy crud. So, yeah, Ms. Tree. So what do you think, Jank, your first experience with Ms. Tree?
It was solid. Again, it could have used some gangbangs or, something.
That's your critique of every comic we read.
Minus 3 points for no gangbang. I get it.
Al needs more gangbangs. But, it was good. It was well written. The art, I like the color scheme more so than the actual art.
He's consistent with his style, though. You know what I mean? So it's not like you either dig it or you don't. It's not exactly my favorite style either. I will say it does get stronger, like, cause I looked at like issue 50 and I was like, oh, this is pretty solid here. So, you just have a thing against B. Arthur. That's all it is. I mean, I don't know why you can't appreciate her beauty, but, yeah.
Where's Holiday Special? It's ruined it for me forever.
Well, that's baffling because that's the best part of the Holiday Special. She sings a lovely song.
But how do you feel about, well, you don't know who Mike Hammer is either. I was going to say, how do you feel about the character drawing inspiration from Mike Hammer? You don't even care.
Nope.
Yeah. All right. Bob, what'd you think?
I thought it was great. It's everything I was hoping it would be.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I would have liked to tighten up the rating a little bit at certain times. Like when she's talking to Rafe, there's a lot of times where they were just throwing around their names for no apparent reason. You don't need to be using their names.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but, you know.
Yeah.
It's for a detective comic book, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it has a strong start with the whole little Jesus on the cross. I guess more of that as the issue went along. It was just
Jank needs gangbangs and crucifixions. That's what he's looking for in a comic. So, if you can deliver on those, he's happy. But otherwise, not so much.
Few comics do, unfortunately.
How'd you feel about the coloring, Jank? I asked Bob earlier, but are you a fan of this kind of color?
Yeah, I like this a lot. I wouldn't want every comic to be like this by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, it's a cool device. I like it.
Absolutely. And again, if I ever get around to doing that comic book, this is how I'm coloring it, because I'm not coloring every panel. You know? It's insane.
Or drawing backgrounds.
No. Yeah, I guess he had a guy come in and start helping him with backgrounds too. I think his name's Gary Cato, I think they said. So anyway, Bob, how do you feel about the Terry Beatty's art?
I like it. It's like you said, it's not the best art in the world, but I like the style a lot. So
you can tell what's going on. There's never really any doubts about the storytelling. It's just like the way people look sometimes. It can be flat and weird looking.
Yeah, I mean, he's not the best artist in the world, but I like his style. So
yeah, I don't mind it.
I'm into it.
Yeah. And Max,
Allan look different. Like Doug looks different from the rest of them and stuff like that. So.
And the rating is solid, not perfect, but solid, very good. And again, because I thought some of the stuff, like when she's given the explanation about how things went down at the end, like, oh yeah, and then he was chloroformed, and then he doesn't remember. Like I thought, well, this seems all forced and odd. But when you go back and read the other issues, yeah, you see it all play out that way, and like that's what they were expecting to happen. So she's just like reinforcing it here, not pulling it out of thin air, you know. So. It works.
The whole arc really ties together pretty well.
Yes. It works a lot better if you read the whole arc. I should really pay attention to things more than just the cover when I'm picking it, but it is what it is.
At least you picked the end of the arc. Because the issue before this, I really liked that cover too, but that would have been weird to just jump into the middle of the story. So.
I can't. Oh yeah, the other. It was like a bunch of like a gangland shootout on the front, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so I don't know, Jake. What do you think, Ms. Tree issue 21?
You know what? I would give it an 8, but her name's Michael, and that's weird, so I'm going to go to 7.
Well, I was probably only going to give it an 8, but since you took that shot, I'm giving it a 9. Sorry. Bob, what do you think?
I am going to give it an 8. I do kind of want to give it a 9 just out of spite, but no, I think this is an 8.
Yeah, it's solid. Probably not as good as the first one, but still, it's very solid. It's Ms. Tree. It's good stuff.
That depends. It would have thrown in a gangbang.
So there you go. Ms. Tree. When we're done with this podcast, who knows when it'll be, tomorrow, in 20 years? As long as someone else, Bob's already done it, but if someone else out there starts reading Ms. Tree, my work here will be done. I will be happy.
Life will have meant some.
Spread the good word of Ms. Tree. So, all right,
Jake. If you're listening to this and you're into any hard-boiled detective stuff, and obviously into comics, read it. It's good.
Yeah, if you don't like detectives, don't give it a shot. Yeah, you're not going to be your thing, you know. But if you really do like detectives, I love detectives. And if you like chimp detectives, get ready. because I got a book coming out soon.
Oh, funny you should mention that.
Jag, next month or next week, are we getting a chimp?
Yeah,
Right.
because you picked this issue because you had teased it on the Flea Awards. I also teased on that one that I would be picking a monkey book coming up, so I figured I would pick that one this week. So we're gonna do a comic that I believe you and Michael and Miles Watson did before. Weird War Tales.
Yes, we did do Weird War. I think it was just me and Michael though.
Oh, was it? Like a Shocktober one, I think.
Yeah, I think Miles did the Forgotten, what was the Soldier, the Unknown Soldier or whatever. But then, in fact, it was the final episode of Michael's run on Flea Market. I think it was Weird World Tales.
Oh,
I think so.
This might be my last episode.
Get that arm loose in the bullpen, Bob.
Yeah, we're going to do issue number 89 of Weird War Tales, where the Nazis have a primate platoon.
What?
A primate? Now, Bob, this seems right up your alley, too, because Bob loves Planet of the Apes, right, Bob?
It's true, I do.
So, you're welcome to come back next week if you want, Bob. But, I mean, it's up to you.
Maybe. We'll have to talk about it.
Got a primate platoon.
Yeah.
What issue number was that?
89.
89. I'm looking it up right now.
Do you know what year this is?
It's got that same Catman fruit pie ad, actually.
Oh my God, this cover is spectacular.
Yeah.
All right. That'll be next week on the Big Show. Weird War Tales 89. A primate platoon. Something to say. All right. Well, Bob, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate it. Any other comic book related topics you'd like to discuss, Bob? This was a pretty quick episode.
Yeah, I don't think so. I haven't been reading many comics lately, unfortunately, but I'm going to get back into Mystery. So
I might read some more Ms. Tree too. I might read some of the Ms. Tree quarterlies. Seem pretty cool.
See what she's doing every quarter.
Yeah.
Your payroll tax returns.
Every 3 months I read a Ms. Tree. So, all right, Bob. Well, thank you very much, buddy. And next time you're around, we'll let you pick a book, unless you want to do Weird War Tales next week.
I mean, I might. Looking at this cover, it's pretty exciting.
All right, well, maybe you'll be here next week then. But until then, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. And don't get any jank on you.